Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. It is free to follow me. Free to follow me on this channel, Anonymous Tea. Free to follow me on my other channel, Anonymous Tea Podcast. There is new content over there. Follow me on the Tickety Talk at Anonymous Tea Podcast. Free to follow me on the Instagram. On the Instagram is at Anonymous Reality Tea. Free to share everywhere. Free to like the video so it gets out to the algorithm. Free to share with your family, your friends, and your foes, and coming or going, hit the like button. So today we're talking Love Island USA Season 7 postseason. As y'all know, it is the gift that keeps on giving, everything else. So we are recapping Keke Palmer's interview with Chelley Olandria that had dropped yesterday. And there's some backlash, apparently. Some people are mad, and I don't understand. Did y'all want it to be messy? Because I wasn't expecting it to be messy. And I also took into account the fact that this was basically filmed shortly after, Olandria got back from Fiji. So, nonetheless, she barely had, a day or two to really see everything that was going on and properly react to everything. And you could tell by her still having her braids and everything in her hair that this was shortly after, she came back. And this was before somebody's messy interview that they did where they were claiming that they were bullied and all of this and all that and that they did nothing wrong. So, in the interview, the ladies got to say that they were able to speak with therapists right after filming, and they dived right into the racism, you guys, and drove right into the hate that they received. Now, at this point in time, I don't think the Time magazine stuff came out yet, but definitely the BuzzFeed knuckle sandwich stuff did. So Chelley voiced her concerns, basically saying, what did I have to do to deserve a knuckle sandwich? And I like that Olandria and Chelley also talked about the fact, I don't know where this mean girl narrative is coming from. I don't know where this, bully narrative is coming from. Everyone loved us in the villa. Everybody talked to us in the villa. We were their sounding board. We had to hold ourselves back as Black women and tone ourselves down because we would see how quickly certain people, who, would turn on the tears and weaponize them. And so we couldn't be our full selves because then we're the bad guy, then we're the aggressors. No. And I hate that Love Island and Peacock did not provide a safe space for these Black women and just continue to protect and galvanize Huda. I felt this was such a huge mistake, you guys. And then they talked about the fact as far as, Chelley said that she didn't know why there was all this uproar and stuff until she got her phone back. She saw a lot of positivity, but she said she was in a group chat with her family, and her family kind of let her know on what the tea was. So they talked about the fact that they had reached out to Olandria 3 different times to be on the show. They reached out to Chelley, for season 6 to try to be on the show, and they couldn't do it at that point in time. So this was the time that they were able to do it for season 7. They did make it established that they did not want to be bombshells. They wanted to be OGs. Also, what was interesting, some people are upset about, was Chelley talking about Austin, but she said that she actually did like him, and she realized when she was sitting in the restroom that one morning, and they agreed that Austin is good looking. Chelley talked about also how she was eliminated right before finale night, and she felt that it was bittersweet. She felt that she was at a point where she was ready to go. She found her man, everything else. She was happy. However, it was sad because she wasn't going to complete the full experience, but she feels like she won already. They do not know what time of day everything is, and that's standard, right? You don't know what time it is. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what the date. And anytime you ask production, they say we're on island time. Ola, again, basically said that she liked country men, and she felt that the reason why was because she felt that they had the same morals and values as herself. And basically, when they saw Taylor come into the villa, she said that that's all me. That's all who I, prefer. And then they also said they confirmed once again everybody gets tested before the show. So those of y'all who be making jokes and alleging people got diseases and stuff, no. Not all these kissing challenges. No way. So nonetheless, there's a lot of tests. And they said in between kissing, you have mouth spray in between kissing people. Because as you know, a lot of the challenges, they have to kiss. So basically, everyone was comfortable with kissing each other. Also, Keke asked about Ace and not liking to be touched, and Chelley and Olandria were confused about this because Chelley said, and Olandria, that Ace was one of the most affectionate men in the villa. He gave everybody a hug all the time, and he prayed every night and everything else. So they were confused about, because that's part of the reason one of the hate train kind of escalated against Ace and by extension Chelley, was that night where, Ace said he didn't want to give Amaya a hug. It wasn't the fact that he immediately rejected Amaya after the recoupling. It was the fact that he'd rejected Amaya for the hug and then went on to hug Chelley. But according to Chelley and Olandria, Ace hugged everyone. So I found that to be interesting. And so then they said that they were both unaware that Taylor found Olandria unattractive. And Chelley would talk about how Taylor, would basically come to Chelley, say all of this stuff to make it seem as though he was genuinely interested in Olandria. And Olandria basically said that she would never be head over heels for somebody who never liked her like that. And then he also told Olandria that he was vocal to keep her in the villa after the castle recoupling. And I'm thinking to myself, you were the same one during the deliberations that basically said that if you kept Olandria, you didn't want her to try to pursue you again, and you didn't want her to try to act a certain type of way, and so you preferred for her not to be in the villa. But now all of a sudden that she stayed, you want to switch up. Now, what I will say is, in the situations where the Islanders have to make a decision on who to keep and who to dump, you have to all be in unison, right? So even though we did see the deliberation as far as Taylor being reluctant to save Olandria, ultimately everybody has to be unanimous. So eventually everybody does have to agree, because if it is not in a unanimous situation, then y'all gonna be deliberating all night. So they talked also about the stand-on business challenge, which was, where all of the different postcards and stuff came in. And, Olandria decided to call out Taylor, because she felt like he was giving her mixed messages and everything else. And they felt in the stand-on business challenge, everybody was just saying what their true feelings were. Keke then asked if, Olandria, when Nicolas first expressed, any type of interest or whatever else, after they were dumped from the villa during Casa Amor, and if it was just for TV, and Olandria said no. She said she believed in him, and every chance they were in a challenge, he would always pick her, and she said that she never pursued it in the beginning because she felt like men who looked like Nicolas, aka white men, she felt as though they would be more traditional and into, white women. So she didn't think that he was actually interested in her. And so then when she talked about the soul ties kiss, she said that she thinks she was a little bit guilty about it because she felt that Sierra and Taylor, they were both in the back of their minds, and she felt bad of, admitting that there was a spark and everything else. And they confirm also, as far as Sierra goes, that they were not told why she was removed. And Chelley had cried earlier and said that she spoke with Sierra about how they were grateful to be there and how the time was almost up. And Chelley told her not to say that and that they still have time. And then later on that day, Sierra got removed. Nick and Olandria Nicolas have talked about basically what the pressure they feel from social media and the outside world, I guess, to advance their relationship, where they're at. Because keep in mind, by the time they officially got together again, there was really just kind of a week, if that, left in the villa. So they felt as though, we're going to go at our own pace, and they have a real connection. And, now when this interview was filmed, at this point in time, Sierra had not reached out to Nicolas or Olandria and everything else. So they don't know if she'll be at the reunion. I don't think Sierra should be at the reunion. If you were removed from the show just like Yulisa was, you shouldn't be at the reunion. However, due to the fact that she was there for the majority of the experience, I feel like she might be fighting to try to get on there. So, then also Chelley explained what she meant by being a girl's girl. So Chelley says that her idea of a girl's girl is essentially you are having women's back. You are, really being 10 toes down for each other. She basically said that some people were treating it like, a way of kind of weaponizing it or whatever. She said that she made it a point to make the bombshells feel comfortable, because she could see that if you looked at Jeremiah, well, she didn't say Jeremiah, but if you looked at certain people a certain way, certain people would get upset. She didn't say Huda by name, but that's who she was talking about, right? So, heart rate challenge. Chelley has not watched the show back, and neither has Olandria. And I really hope, after seeing this interview, that Chelley and Olandria, before y'all tape the reunion, which I believe the reunion's going to tape in a couple of weeks, but it's not going to air till the end of August, y'all need to watch the show back, because some of y'all opinions, if you are going off opinions, off of fan edits or other things, you don't have the full concept of what people are saying in confessionals about you behind your back. That is why it's important to watch the show back. So, nonetheless, they talk about the heart rate challenge. Chelley hasn't seen the show or whatever else, but she said that she was a little confused as far as what people were upset about and why they got mad at Chelley for Chelley's reaction. And, Keke agreed that too much was going on in terms of the heart rate challenge. And, Olandria even confirms that, Huda did too much in the heart rate challenge. And Olandria also says that Huda even agreed that she went overboard right after the challenge and was apologetic. That's why I don't understand why Huda is switching up now and trying to diminish what she did. And trying to say, because of the fact that she has so many followers and that she has so many fans, she feels vindicated. Like that's a flat out lie. There's been 8 or 9 Islanders that have said you went too far, that has said that you basically tried to put your cat up in Ace's face and everything else, and that was beyond the actual, challenge. And you're trying to make it seem like you did the same thing for everybody. No, you didn't. You pulled Ace out in front and center, in front of the fire pit, in front of everybody, and wanted to do your scripper performance or on top of him. No. And I still find that moment funny, because when the actual episode aired, because they said that, Huda had raised Ace's heart rate, and Chelley was like, well, are you trying to kill him? Are you trying to have him, be unalive? Like make it make sense. So I already talked about the fact that they had to tone down themselves in the villa, so that they don't cross boundaries and everything else, because it was easy for people to get emotional. Also, Austin confirmed in another interview that Chelley was the most level-headed in the villa and was easy to talk to, and that his mom really liked her because she brought out a calmness in him. So again, another debunker of, this false narrative that Chelley was some type of mean girl or some type of angry black woman. It was just crazy to me. So then the Clark conversation came up, and again, this is where I implore Olandria to watch the show back, because basically the question was asked to Olandria where she stands with Clark and everything else, and Olandria thought that she was nice and that she was genuine, but that she allegedly saw clips where she seemed, because Keke's kind of setting it up where she saw clips that it might have seemed like, Clark was making faces or mocking Olandria, and Olandria was shocked about this, and, basically then they got into a conversation where Olandria's talking about that there's no competition, and that if somebody wants to compete against me, that they have to be natural because I'm natural. No. Listen, y'all, because I don't know if this is before or after the Disney date, but I think you have it wrong here, Olandria, and I love Olandria. I think you have it wrong. I don't think Clark was being messy towards you. I think Clark, I just think she's not somebody who, she's one of those people who cameras are not going to show who she truly is. If that makes sense. She's not going to be the person that's going to be on camera that's going to be the fun, bubbly personality, right? She's going to be real. She's going to be a little bit more calm. She's going to be a little bit more serious. But people are going to misconstrue those facial expressions and think that it's shade, right? But nonetheless, we also have to take into account, too, on the side of Olandria, she still was coming in from Casa Amor talking about Taylor's my man. And he was coupled up with Clark and was paying Olandria no mind. So that initial probably, beginning phase, Clark was probably looking like, you do realize like Taylor's not really featuring you. But, I think eventually they got cool. But I don't think Clark didn't like Olandria or has any ill will. I think Olandria is getting caught up in these edits, and I think it's a huge mistake. You have to watch the show back. It's very important to watch the show back. Also, they talked about how they both like Amaya, and they liked when Brian stood up for Amaya when he was speaking on, how Hispanic culture and how they like to say babe and everything else. Chelley said that she'd been open about her sexuality with her family. She's never had to, come out or say anything like that. She said she doesn't put herself into a box, and she likes what she likes and everything else. They talked about the rankings challenge, the American rankings challenge, and that's when a lot of people had questions about each other. And they said that, it wasn't a season where they talked about the finale a lot or talked about the money or anything. They just felt like they were on an extended vacation. They didn't feel that Sierra was being fake. Then also they were confused about the rankings because Olandria thought initially she didn't understand why she was high, but then Chelley would be ranked like 9th place or whatever, and she thought that it was because maybe like Chelley said something or did something messy, and it was like no. America just hated Ace, but again, this is my issue, right? Because y'all are trying to vote Ace low, but these were individual questions. So you didn't need to put Chelley at the end if you really just have an issue with Ace. Like that was my problem. It was like y'all were not being realistic. Y'all being hypocrites on these couples, because on one end, if it's an individual vote, y'all basically are punishing the couples as a whole, like y'all did with Clark and Taylor. Y'all would put Clark at the bottom too to punish her when your issue is with Taylor, right? But then at the same token, when it's time to vote for a winner, y'all said y'all couldn't vote for Chelley and Ace to win because y'all didn't like Ace. But if y'all had suspicions or whatever else about Brian, or you didn't like Brian, or you didn't know him that well, y'all still voted for Amaya to win. And that is where it's like, for me, like y'all got to keep it a buck across the board. So then there was a question about who the top 3 kissers were in the villa, and Chelley originally said Ace, and Ace, and then she said Ace, Sierra, and Chris, and then Olandria said her top 3 was Nick, Ace, and Jeremiah. Then also they asked, this was interesting too, they were asked by Keke who got the best edit, and so that point, Keke was like, okay, like you could vote a friend or whatever else if you don't want to answer. So Chelley called Ace. Ace answered on the second ring. He kind of sounded a little bit tired or whatever, but why did he sound good on the phone? like I see why. Listen, separate from the show, Ace on TikTok, Ace on social media, he seems like a good person. He seems like a really good guy. I just think, I don't think the show portrayed who Ace really was, and I think it was very easy to portray him a certain way, because I feel like these other dudes, let's just call it, these other dudes were followers, you guys. These other dudes were followers, because how could you have Ace run the villa like this? Make it make sense. It wasn't the Traitors or Big Brother. But anyways, Ace answers the phone on the second ring. Chelley has him saved in the phone as Boo. And I guess Keke thought she was going to get a messy answer out of Ace, but Ace is PR trained now. So Ace basically was like, listen, I don't think America saw what needed to be seen and everything else. So I'm not going to speak on who did or didn't have the best edit and this and that. And I think Keke was kind of shook. And she was like, well, it was nice meeting you via the phone and everything else. Like, maybe we can meet each other in person. Maybe you can come by for an interview. I don't think Ace is doing any more interviews, y'all. Unless it's something like cheeky, like a Billboard magazine or GQ interviewer, like a couples related thing. But I think him and Chelley specifically have completely detached from Love Island. And I feel like other people need to detach from Love Island too. That's what I feel. Olandria says that she probably would have gotten a couple with Chris if she had anybody else to pick, and that he is allegedly a giant or whatever else. So then they felt as far as that girl in the Stand on Business Challenge had any reasonable responses to defend herself. It sounded like they called her out on a lot of things, on a lot of lies, on a lot of things, and her defense just made zero sense. So then Chelley said that she appreciated the apology, but didn't think the explanation and excuses made sense. And I feel like this is why ultimately Chelley and Olandria had unfollowed Huda, because you did all this apologizing in the villa. You made it seem like everybody was cool, everything was cool. And then Huda, you make it a step to make it, seem like you're the daughter of Nick Olandria in the Airbnb, only for you to be messy in these interviews and say that you were a bully, that you were ostracized, nobody could talk to you, you could only talk to the therapist and everything else, and you got Olandria right here and all of this and all that. So they just said skip it, like I want nothing to do with you. So Keke entered the interview, and this also for some reason is controversial, but basically said that she's a Chelley fan and she loves them and she's rooting for them and she's rooting for Olandria to find somebody who deserves all of her greatness, whether it is Nicolas or somebody new. And I don't understand why people are mad about this, because when this podcast was filmed, a lot of the interviews that were done at this point in time, people were asking the validity of Nick Olandria because they literally had just became a couple. So I'm confused as to why people are upset. At this point, things have not progressed to the way things have progressed now with Nick and Olandria. So therefore, there were some people who were skepticism, but why are y'all taking it out on Keke? Y'all don't got the same smoke for those other podcasts that ask the same question? Make it make sense? Overall, like I said, I didn't mind the interview. I don't understand why people are so up in arms about it. Then I saw some people saying that, Olandria didn't speak enough, but it told me that Olandria is still uncomfortable in interviews. So Chelley is, was more comfortable to answer questions, and Chelley deferred a lot of times to Olandria. And Olandria sometimes would answer, and sometimes she would defer back to Chelley to answer. So you can't be mad at the situation. Now, if you want to talk about Keke over talking or cutting him off, or basically in certain questions saying so much herself, giving her own opinion herself, to where it didn't leave much room for Chelley or Olandria to give an answer or whatever else, then that's fine, right? But I felt like it's kind of like with Shannon Sharpe. It felt more like it was a conversation, like, yes, we're going to get some questions, but, ultimately it's a conversation. I felt it was more about having a safe space for these Black women to speak about the hate, the racism, and the negativity, and for them to showcase their personality. I feel like that was the main objective, right? And unfortunately, I feel like some of y'all missed that. The objective was for them to be shown in a light that was safe and that they felt comfortable to express themselves and to be themselves and to show that they are great women, that they are not mean girls, that they are not bullies and everything else. And that when the opportunities presented themselves for them to be mean and be shady, for the most part, the high road was taken. I saw some people trying to make a big deal about the grace that Chelley is giving Sierra. And here's the thing, you guys. And y'all trying to compare it to that girl. Sierra has taken accountability for her actions, whether you believe it or not or whatever else. And we can't discount the fact that even in this interview, Olandria is still even considering Sierra her friend. Old girl over there with the most followers is going on interviews, basically blowing up the spot and basically taking no accountability for anything. and basically making it seem like everybody is just, you know, everybody's got it wrong and feels validated by her fans. No. So that is the difference, you guys. You have somebody coming out saying, oh, I see the fact that I have all these millions of followers. I feel vindicated for my actions. Everybody crashes out. It's no big deal. So that is why Chelley is more forgiving towards Sierra, because she understands that this is somebody who's taken accountability. This is somebody who's apologized to her privately behind the scenes. And basically all these islanders have shunned Sierra, have shut her out and everything else. But that is her friendship. Chelley is showing you what a real girl's girl does. Where old girl over there is calling Sierra fake. But Chelley is showing you what a girl's girl does. And I feel like Amaya needs to be careful going so hard for Huda, because I feel like she is going down a very slippery slope, and she's not defending Olandria or Chelley at all. So this reunion is going to be very interesting, because I feel like there's going to be some more fallouts. Everybody's trying to pretend to play nice, but I feel like there's about to be some more fallouts whenever this reunion tapes, which I believe is going to be in a couple weeks. But overall, I like the interview. I wasn't expecting things to be messy. I wasn't expecting things to be negative. This is what specifically Chelley needed in particular, because it was just so much hate. It was so much negativity. So I'm so happy. And Chelley, the outfit she wore, I believe it's like a couple $1,000s, already sold out. So you got some rich Love Island USA fans, even though some people were asking, when is the Duke coming to Temu or Shein? But nonetheless, that is it. That is all for this video, you guys. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post a content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.